Making their way to the ring, talking about the world of professional wrestling, the team of Jeff Martin and the Trendsetter, Bryan Burga, the Jersey Wrecking Crew.
It's pretty sweet. We're back, guys. The Jersey Wrecking Crew is back for another episode
Keep bobbing my
of
head
the
to that.
HSP.
Oh,
I know
man.
audio can't hear you, but visually you can see Jeff bopping his head. The HSP podcast is here, Jeff.
Oh, man. Great to be here. And by the time this show airs, Trendsetter, there will have been a NFL game preseason, albeit, but an NFL game played. That's just hard for me to swallow right now because I just can't believe how the summer has gone. But other than that, I am doing good. How you doing, Trendsetter? You doing okay? Are you as upset as football season coming back as I am?
I mean, I am running on fumes, and they're not begin to tell you about the amount of stuff that we're going to talk about today, today's show, but also all the stuff that's going on all around the league. You talk about football. Summer never arrived here in the Northeast, so, a lot of things changing, plus you and I burning the midnight oil, burn the can at both ends. Think of any other reason you want to say about being really tired. We are, but we do this as a labor of love for all you guys, the members of the crew. So I'm excited, man. Let's get started.
All right, guys. First, follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. The HSP Network is on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there, youtube.com/High Spot Podcast. Also, all our social media. And of course, also on Instagram, HSP Media Network as well. Follow us there. A lot of things in the near future to talk about and discuss as well. Trendsetter, yeah, lots of stuff to talk about, man. Where do you want to start, man? I'll throw it off to you because it seems like I'm always the one that's going to start the topics, and I'm kind of the one that sets a table, and I really don't want to do that this week. I kind of want to give you free reins, and you're the guy that is always giving me the response, is always doing those great things. So I will let you set the table, Trendsetter. What do you want to open up with today?
Well, I want to open up with something that everyone's been talking about. It recently happened this past Saturday, where it was the release of something that we thought wasn't really going to happen. We discussed about this particular superstar being underutilized, somewhat undervalued in the WWE. Took a hiatus yet again. Wondered when he was coming back, but it's not going to happen. He's been released. Bray Wyatt no longer is part of the WWE. They have wished him best on his future endeavors, and it's amazing the uproar of emotion the fans have gotten. What was your first initial reaction, Jeff, when you heard about Bray Wyatt?
I was really shocked. I was really surprised. And we're going to get to why he should be in AEW in just a little bit, too. Why AEW should take a chance on him. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But my thoughts on Bray Wyatt was simply this. It was like an opportunity lost, but very puzzling because this is a company that put a lot of money into this character, into this gimmick. Vince McMahon was very for it. A lot of people backstage, again, were for it. And this is really a surprise. And if you're somebody in the company right now, it kind of makes you think that no one is safe. And that's what I kind of get away from it first and foremost, Trendsetter, is that nobody seems to be safe right now because this was as locked in a character that you thought was going to be there for a long time. Bray Wyatt has so much creative juices flowing. Again, the investment, too, I can't get over all this investment in time that they did. And for Bray Wyatt not to be seen for so long and then just give up on it and future endeavor him, it's just very puzzling. And it's something that I don't think we'll ever understand why. But again, it's very surprising. But what I take from it is, again, nobody seems to be safe right now when they're doing their budget cuts. And it's just, again, it's a shocker. But I would say, Trendsetter, that nobody seems to be safe now in WWE.
Not about nobody being safe too, Jeff. I think the thing that I'm not surprised, you said this was surprising for you. I'm not surprised one bit for the mere fact that the entire buildup towards WrestleMania was the Fiend coming back and avenging the fact that he was burnt alive in the Inferno match against Randy Orton. And then you have this huge, gigantic buildup as we lead towards WrestleMania in Tampa. Arrived there. Theatrics were all there, right? But what ended up happening, it was a dud. Not only a dud of a match, but a dud of an outcome in terms of what you expected it to be. Heard rumors that it was changed last minute, that Bray was supposed to go over, but then all of a sudden Randy Orton was obviously victorious. And then from there, that was it. You had Alexa Bliss turn on the Fiend, and we thought that there was going to be something, a payoff somewhere there, but eventually saw pretty quickly that there wasn't going to be. And this other hiatus was, in my mind, I was thinking, well, how many hiatuses can this guy take? How many times can he recreate himself, reinvent himself? You talked about the creative juices flowing, right? I mean, at some point you have to be stifled because it seemed like the WWE, since the moment he got brought up from NXT and everyone raved about him, yes, he was Husky Harris before, it didn't work in NXT. Triple H totally repackaged him, and then the momentum he had, the excitement he had, and it just seemed like, in my opinion, Vince never was fully convinced. Either he was, and then one day he decided to change his mind, and back and forth. There was no, in my opinion, one full commitment. You could say the biggest turnaround in Bray Wyatt's career were one of three things, right? What happened with Randy Orton WrestleMania, what happened with Goldberg and how he got squashed by Goldberg and lost the championship, and then what happened at WrestleMania 30 when he should have beaten John Cena. Those are three pivotal moments in Bray Wyatt's career where if it went the other way, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. But the way WWE's handled talent, the way they have gone in terms of releasing, like I said, nobody's safe, it does not surprise me one bit that they went to this move, because you know what? Eventually you run out of redos over and over again. It just becomes stale. And if Vince McMahon is showing the lack of commitment for this character, why should we as a fan or fans be invested in it? I don't know.
I totally agree with that. One thing that I find fascinating too is that all the points that you made as far as the matches, the I guess career defining matches, it's just funny that if even one of those outcomes would have been different, um, then maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. But it was the fear of Vince McMahon to pull the trigger and fully commit to this. And you saw the reports, though, right? That there was kind of like a little bit frustration coming on the point of Bray, that he wasn't really willing to
Can't blame him.
not cooperate, but just be more protective of the character. Because let's be honest, some of these wrestlers here, they really give a lot of and invest a lot of time into their gimmicks and character, and it's makes sense to be protective of your character, because at the end of the day, that's what bringing food to your table, money in your pockets. And when someone's messing with it like that, like Vince tends to do, like perfect example, Karrion Cross. Right now, we're just a little bit wondering and puzzled what's going on. And when you hear, this is what's funny to me, man. When you hear journalists, writers say, "Come on, man," like, or when WWE tells you, like, "Oh, just relax," and what we're doing with Karrion Cross is correct. There's so much proof that they don't do the right job, that you can come back to them and say, "Hey, look at this character, look at that character." So at the end of the day, I don't blame Bray for being protective of his character, because he's had a lot of ideas. But, Vince McMahon, again, just shows you here that, he's invested in something. And if he doesn't like it, he's not going to fully roll with it. And there ended up being some friction between the two.
Yeah, and you can't blame it that. And I'll go back real quick to a comment Triple H made one time during a conference call where he was like, the fans kind of ruin it for themselves. Part of that is true, I guess, because we're very critical of things, but ultimately, can you blame us? I would say to Paul Levesque, Triple H, can you blame the fans for being that way because of the inconsistencies that there have been on WWE programming? Again, and I don't want to make this out to be a show that we're bashing WWE. We're not. We're just stating the obvious that a lot of people are talking about right now. How can the fans ruin the experience when WWE is doing such a great job of doing that for us? And the perfect example right now is Bray Wyatt. You're asking us to be committed to somebody, to be committed to a character. And if you're in the Bray Wyatt side, told about, yeah, we want your creativity. We want your input. We want you to work with the creative. We want you to work with the writers and stuff like that. And you put in all the time and effort that Bray Wyatt has done to reinvent his character 3 times. He's done it 3 times. And knowing that you're going down the same path again, why wouldn't you be frustrated with Bray Wyatt? Why wouldn't you expect
definitely
the other shoe to fall if you're a WWE fan or a wrestling fan on this? So, like I said, it doesn't surprise me. It showcased the people or the journalists that say, just be patient, let it play itself out.
Oh, they sit on their high chair too.
More
Like, oh,
time.
well, you're just jumping to conclusions. Oh, you don't know what I hate that so much, because there's been proof so many times, Trendsetter, that they, fudge it up more than they actually, tend to be
and sometimes
successful with
the conclusions supposedly that people draw up aren't based on just emotion. They're based on facts and history that we've gone back to see time and time again that the same end result ends up happening again. So those are educated conclusions, not just, based on emotion.
Would you think Ronda Rousey come into the defense? Well, I don't know. She kind of blamed the fans on this, and I get her emotion. I get that she might be a little bitter, I think, to the fact that she busted her ass and she feels that the fans turned on her at WrestleMania a couple years back.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit. It's funny, right? It's all supposed to be a work, but I think she's still a little bit bitter towards the fans about them turning on her, and she blames the fans in this case on Bray Wyatt. I really don't blame the fans because I can't think of one fan that did not like Bray Wyatt even when he was in NXT. People were looking forward to it. People were telling me, "Man, wait till he gets to the WWE. There's no way they can mess it up. The Wyatt family is gonna, be the next best thing here in WWE." We said that a lot, right? We said that a lot about a lot of acts, but I don't blame the fans because the fans. I'm gonna say fans. The fans were into this three times, like you said. He reinvented him 3 times. And this one with the Fiend and the Firefly Funhouse and the fans, even you can see Seth Rollins and Cesaro in the back when they saw, and they didn't expect that to be Bray Wyatt. The fans were all in, but if you're going to stop and start somebody, you can't blame the fans for being discouraged and at the end of the day not believing the hype because Vince himself pushed, stopped, and started.
Yeah, well, Jeff, here you just touched on something I want to talk about so badly.
Good, I'm
right
glad.
Now. Here's the thing with Ronda Rousey, everybody has an opinion, and Ronda Rousey is totally entitled to her opinion. But here's my opinion. Ronda Rousey, I could care less about anything that happens in your life from this point forward. She wanted to market herself and be one of these biggest stars in UFC history, right? It was marketed by the UFC as one of the greatest women of all time, right? But it was marketed and was fabricated because the sport caught up to her, because her competition in the UFC in the strawweight division was lesser than her until it finally caught up with her, a.k.a. Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes, right? So what happened? You wanted to showcase the fact that you had the heart of a champion, but when you lost, you tucked your tail between your legs and you left. You never gave credit to Holly Holm or Amanda Nunes. You don't want to talk about that fight. So then you come to the world of WWE. And what ends up happening? You show this cookie cutter, good person look. We know what your attitude is. We know what your personality is. So you weren't faking any of the wrestling fans. So what? They turned on you. Oh my goodness. How dare you boo me? Why not boo you? Because you said, and I quote on interviews in the past, that it's a privilege for you to speak during interviews, and it's a privilege for people to listen to you. Well, you know what? It's not a privilege. It's not a right. And the mere fact that they're booing you, great. To me, it has nothing to do with defending Bray Wyatt. It might be because she did know Bray Wyatt pretty well while she was in WWE, but to me, it's just sour grapes. I could care less about her reasoning. I hope she never comes back. We have very respected writers that talk about how Ronda Rousey was the biggest draw. And yes, I give them credit. She was the biggest draw out there. But, ultimately, the biggest draw, I'm glad you're gone because at the same time, it makes no sense to me that you came in here as a part-timer, knowing you'd be a part-timer, and I wish her best in her family. She's starting to build, and she's going to have a baby. Congratulations. But when it comes to professional wrestling, shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. You want to call all of us marks? You're the biggest mark of them all because you went out there and copied Rowdy Piper, even though you had his permission, copied his gimmick and couldn't get it over. And so you know what? You went back to your ways of being, I don't know, a bitch. And that's what you were. And that's what you sold. And that's what you did great. And then you made history at WrestleMania with the first women's main event due most likely to you, and now you're gone. So do us a favor, stay gone. You don't want to talk about MMA, then don't talk about pro wrestling either. Granted, it's your opinion, and you're entitled to it, but I could care less about what Ronda Rousey does from this point forward. If she comes back to wrestling, it'd be, to me, the most inconsiderate, not inconsiderate, it would be the most irrelevant thing in my opinion. But in terms of the women's division for Raw, it would probably help out Raw and SmackDown. But to me, I could care less about Ronda Rousey. Keep your opinions to yourself. Shut your trap. Go have a family. I don't want to hear about you in pro wrestling ever again. That's my opinion on her.
All right. So she's entitled to her opinion, but you don't want to hear it, which is fine. Yeah. And she can go on the platform and she can talk about what she wants to do. I just find it funny.
She's a hypocrite, in my opinion.
I find it funny that as a fan, though, I would just be surprised that she really fell for the fans turning on you. It's part of a storyline.
I know. Part of me thinks this is a work too. It's a work anyway. But at the same time,
she wants to get a reaction. She still wants to be that heel. And if she were to come back, I mean, obviously she'd be a heel because she said a couple other things too that kind of damages her relationship with the fans. So by attacking the fans again, if she did ever come back, I know you wouldn't watch, but if she did come back, I'd watch because she's going to get heel heat because I think that's the only way you can bring her back. I don't think if you brought her back as, Ronda Rousey, when she came the first time, you're not going to get that reaction because now the wrestling fan has a bunch of heat on her because of what she said about the fans. But here's my take here, which is interesting that I found this about Bray Wyatt. And that is, while everything was great as far as the show, the supernatural stuff, the masks, everything, the bells and whistles, when the bell rang, I felt there was just something that wasn't the same as Bray Wyatt, the follow the buzzards kind of guy. I just think it left a lot to be desired. Not all solely his fault, but I think it was also the character, in which I enjoyed the Bray Wyatt more than the Fiend. I did not like the red lighting. I did not like the music. That screeching music was just so annoying. I did not like it at all. So a lot of stuff detracted me from the Fiend, but I give it credit because he pulled off a lot of merch. But check out these stats, right? For Bray Wyatt, as much as we think of it, there's a saying called "and then the bell rang." So check this out. So most overrated Bray Wyatt in 2020, worst gimmick 2017 as Sister Abigail, worst gimmick 2020 as the Fiend, worst feud of the year versus Randy Orton. Now you know how I feel about Randy Orton, right? So 2017 worst feud of the year. 2019 worst feud of the year with Seth Rollins. Worst feud of the year 2020 with Braun Strowman. Worst worked match of the year 2014 versus John Cena at Extreme Rules. Okay, then you got worst worked match of the year 2017 versus Randy Orton again, WrestleMania 33. We were there. We did not care for that as well. Worst match of the year versus Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell. A lot had to do with the music and also the just the red lighting, which was distracting. Worst match of the year versus Braun Strowman at the horror show at Extreme Rules. There's a pattern here, Trendsetter, that while Bray Wyatt and The Fiend worked as far as pulling merch, to me, it didn't, in my opinion, it didn't work inside the ring. And I totally think that's one reason why WWE was like, okay, we can pull the trigger because can Bray Wyatt perform in the ring? I believe he can, but I do believe part of it was stifled by the booking.
Yeah, I understand.
Look at those stats.
Yeah, and again, Ronda Rousey would make the comment too that we're the same people that would chant "Beach Ball Mania" and threw beach balls during Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt's WWE Championship match. But again, here you go. You can argue the fact that Bray Wyatt's matches have not been the best with the people he's worked with, right? He has great chemistry with Daniel Bryan. He's had great chemistry with Roman Reigns. That match with Randy Orton was a stinker, and the mere fact that we got that again at this year's WrestleMania,
why
we didn't know, we knew these two didn't work well together. But again, with all those things being said, he is one of the very few people that sometimes you don't get it bell to bell with everybody. You don't. But it's the story that's built up towards that gives you the anticipation, that gives you that eagerness to wanna see it, even though it might be a stinker, right? And I hate to compare him to maybe but Undertaker never had great matches all the time, but again, it's the same.
But Undertaker has a bigger resume.
Has a bigger resume.
I don't look at the stuff that I threw to you right now. I mean, that's a big resume of flops. It really is. Now, I don't blame Bray Wyatt a lot because there's a lot of memorable matches I liked. I liked his loss to The Undertaker at 31. I thought that was a good match. I thought, like you mentioned, Daniel Bryan, I thought that was tremendous, their work. I mean, it really got a lot of emotion. Elimination Chamber where he beat AJ Styles. There are memorable stuff. The matchup with John Cena at WrestleMania, not 30, but the one where there's nobody in the audience is more kind of like a film thing. That was good.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of oil and vinegar with Bray Wyatt as far as I'm sorry, oil and vinegar, water and oil, right? They don't mix.
Yeah.
I'm just hungry. I need a sub sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think there's more matches where I didn't look forward to Braun Strowman rivalry. That wasn't anything to me that I got to go home and I got to watch this live. I got to watch this on the network. Nah, it was something that I would hard pass. And I don't know. I just think that There's a lot of circumstances that led to this, and I think it was a long time coming. I think WWE at the end of the day was like, we can push this, but is it working in the ring?
Yeah, not only working in the ring though, but it's worth their time. And apparently, with all the budget cuts they're making, they've shown that it's not worth their time. And just like I said, it makes sense from a WWE standpoint in terms of what they're trying to do here, trying to cut off the excess fat, if you want to call Bray Wyatt that. But to me, it's like, man, you've invested so much time into this, and I would argue anybody that tells me they fully committed to it or they fully gave it its
I
complete
don't think
run.
they did.
I don't
I
think
don't
they
think
did.
it was. You're always going to wonder
When you
what if,
start and
man.
stop, you just never fully see it. And I don't think in anything, I'm sure we can think of millions of examples about this too, right off the top of my head, right? But ultimately, when you start and stop people and don't fully give them the ability to fail or succeed, how can you really judge them on that? How can you really base them on that? But again, you gave a really good track record of some stinkers there, but to me, his commitment to the content that you see on TV every day in a way somewhat supersedes that. So, we'll never know. And I'm sure
We're not going to know.
we're not going to know.
Unless Wyndham Rotunda does a Talk as Jericho down the road and talks about what happened in WWE, which may happen. And that's where that graphic came up, Trendsetter, about Bray Wyatt and his future. Where exactly would he be a fit? A lot of people say AEW, and of course that's a logical place because everyone's going there.
Leader of the Dark Order, maybe?
Exactly. A lot of people put that on social media. It would work. The passing of the torch from Brody Lee to now Wyndham Rotunda. A lot of story there. It would work. It would pull the heartstring. I definitely would be emotional about that.
Yeah, because let's be honest, since Brody's passing, the Dark Order has been more of a comedy act than has been a sinister stable that is overtaking AEW.
So Cody was on a conference call, and of course he can't talk about it. I guess there is a 90 to no compete, so you can't really talk about Wyndham Rotunda. It's weird calling him Wyndham Rotunda, right?
Yeah.
So is AEW the right fit? Will they be able to unlock? Of course, it's going to be a different gimmick. You can't use anything in the Fiend, Firefly Funhouse, Bray Wyatt, all that. That's gone. I have no question he can, again, reinvent himself for the fourth time. I see a fit, actually. I see a fit in AEW. I think they can work their magic. I think they can make something of it. The Dark Order makes logical sense. So I think he'd fit. Do you think he would fit in AEW? Or where could you see him landing if it wasn't AEW?
I could see him in AEW, but the only problem is, like you said, he can't reuse a lot of stuff that he used in WWE. That's copyrighted by them, and he would obviously want to start fresh, not carrying over whatever he had done.
Oh no,
I don't know. If I'm him, I really have to think that the most popular thing now when anybody who gets released from WWE is, oh, they're how long is it going to be for them to go to AEW? I think if he makes that choice, whether it be AEW, Impact, or wherever he decides to go, for example, it really has to be on him because I don't think he wants to find himself in the situation too where he's kind of lost in the shuffle, where he's kind of just like an afterthought. And now we're looking at, for example, let's use AEW as the example. We're looking at their roster continually build and build and build. And now my fearful thing is it's being filled now with ex WWE guys as opposed to the young talent that you and I would talk about. It's still there. They're trying to keep that balance going, but ultimately you wouldn't want to catch yourself in that situation, especially with all the work that now it's called Bray Wyatt now, but all the work
you can
that
say
he does,
Bray Wyatt. That's what we know.
all
Him
the work
as.
that he does. I don't know if you would feel he's a fit there. So it really have to take some talking to Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny to see where his place would be.
They would love to. How can you not be tempted though? That's another thing too. Is like you have all these WWE guys, right? And they've been called out for hiring all the WWE guys when they said that it wasn't going to be about WWE guys, right? So that's the big thing that you can knock Cody and management for the EVPs on, because how could you not be tempted though when you see a Bray Wyatt out there, when you see a Daniel Bryan and a CM Punk and you see Andrade? How are you not tempted, like that song, Tempted to Touch, right? How can you avoid that when they're out there? And that marquee name, if you feel that you can make them a star. Malakai Black in one day did more I'll leave NXT behind because NXT was all for him. But in one night, they made him a star, a legit badass star. And how could you not feel that you could do the same with these other guys? Bray Wyatt is very tempting to add to your roster. It's not like you're getting, again, C plus players here. You're not, using guys that are in catering. You're using big time guys that have headlined WrestleMania, and guys that are up there in the echelon, the youth, the talent. How do you not get tempted? It would be hard for me not to.
It's hard not to, but here's the problem, though. I mean, every single talent that comes from WWE, although they don't seek them as value, is very valuable too, because they've either been talent that has been underutilized and haven't been given that opportunity to showcase their value in being a money draw.
Yeah.
And then you have the other ones that have left that have proven that they're money draws, but WWE can't afford them. So if you're AEW and you're Tony Khan, it's like a kid in a candy store. You love to pick and choose everyone, sign everyone. But again, that's where the whole delicate act has to fall in place, where they have to be mindful and not run into similar mistakes that other promotions, hence WCW, ran into. You can't just keep hiring ex-WWE talent, as well as established as they are. And maybe it makes more sense now. You can reason behind it because AEW is coming out with Rampage, so you probably need talent to support that second show. But you still have to be careful, because as much as they're filling up with talent, you continually want to balance it with the talent you're trying to bring up from AEW, like a Jungle Boy, an MJF, even an Adam Hangman Page, a Sammy G, who haven't really made that name yet, or are slowly building themselves up to that. You don't want to derail that because, this guy's available and that guy's available and we can do this with them, because then you kind of derail their momentum that they built from the audience, from the fans. We don't want it to be, we don't want it to be a WWE/AEW show. We want it to be identified as AEW. And, that's the thing we'll find out down the road. Will they be able to balance that out? Of course, if you see Bray Wyatt out there, why wouldn't you want to ring him up? Not only of what he can do in the ring, because he's very talented in the ring, but what he can do in terms of story and character development. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but they have to be very careful. And it also depends if he wants to be there, too. It takes two to tango.
So that wasn't the only headlines this week, too. Of course, the news broke that Ric Flair decided to part ways with WWE. It looked like it was more on Ric's behalf. Look, if you're Vince McMahon and you realize that as much as I love the Nature Boy, and you've heard about the stories of Ric Flair and Vince McMahon, there's like a very fondness there between both guys, a huge amount of respect. Vince supposedly sees him as that Nature Boy from, 80s and 90s still.
Mm-hmm.
So there's respect there. But is it really a loss if Ric Flair decides to go to AEW or decides to do other ventures in his life? You heard the rumors about Charlotte, the booking, which I find it weird because she's booked like a superstar all the time. And then you think of him going up to bat for Andrade, which is Charlotte's fiance. And I'm like, okay, obviously Vince should have listened a little bit, because I think Andrade would have worked. But now you got Rick and Andrade maybe over there.
Yeah.
And you got Charlotte eventually down the road. If they do get married, life changes, things happen. But if they do get married, you kind of, and this is what I wanted to say a couple weeks ago too, is you have unhappy superstars. You've got, for example, you don't want to see it, but I'm just being picky here. You don't want to see Thea Trinidad, Zelina Vega tweet about her husband in AEW. You don't want to. It bothers me seeing Charlotte tweet about her man in AEW, because the mindset is that one of these days Charlotte may want to choose family over money, and for them to lose somebody like Charlotte Flair down the road because they just didn't have anything for her husband here, kind of doesn't make really much sense to me.
Well, what are you talking about? That because of the way WWE's handled these things, that other superstars now might be tempted to leave?
Oh, that in part, but it's just to me that if you're going to lose Andrade, you just open the door, even if it's just a little bit, of Charlotte Flair when her deal comes up, thinking, hey, I could spend time with my husband, we can be closer together, and why not jump to AEW? Although at the door, the window or door would be so minute.
But, that might be a factor, like you said. But I think
why put yourself there?
I don't think they're putting themselves there by doing what you just said. I think they're putting themselves there because of WWE creative. I kind of agree with Rick. I mean, you might say, yeah, Charlotte's been booked to be $1 million, but here's the thing: every time she's taken a little break, she's always come back the same way. It's
Yeah.
always been the same thing, and it's running stale in my opinion. What Charlotte's doing, she comes in, does the, raise the ropes for me, do this, really becoming really full of herself. But we've seen this version of Charlotte before. Maybe it's a different type of version, but it's kind of the same thing.
She is a better heel and face, though. So
no doubt, but at the same time, if you're doing the same heel gimmick over and over again, it's gonna get old after a while, and people are not gonna want to get it. You might get more boos, obviously, because they're sick and tired of it. But I think ultimately Charlotte's success, which again I agree with her, she should not apologize to anybody for. She earned it. But I think her success is going to be her biggest downfall, because when you and I talk about Charlotte and like, oh, look, they're doing this with her and they're doing this, how many more championships can she win? How many times can she win the
might
Raw?
be the one that's going to end up breaking Ric Flair's record.
Maybe
over Cena.
But at the same time, how many times do we want to see this? But here's the difference, and I'm not trying to devalue the women's division right now, but when you look at the division and the roster they have, when you had Sasha, Bayley, Becky, and Charlotte, it was a rotation there you could always work with. But now Bayley's injured. Sasha, you see her whenever you want to see her. Now she's back on SmackDown, going to challenge Bianca Belair. Becky's going to come back now, obviously from having a baby. But how many more times do we want to see the same thing? It's not fresh anymore. There's no new blood out there for it. Because WWE failed, in my opinion, to develop that women's division to some credibility. I'm not saying they have to be the ones that draw the money, but it failed the credibility that you constantly keep rotating the same people over and over again. How many times have you seen Naomi? No offense to her, or what's her name? Carmella. Honestly, are these legitimate threats of competition out there?
And you're building something with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and then you just send Mandy Rose over to NXT, and now you don't hear anything from Dana Brooke ever again.
And
She's back to MIA.
And your all-star female, the cornerstone of that women's division, is now injured. So now Natalia's not even there.
Well, she was the very reliable. She was a sure thing. She was the best bet. Hopefully she comes back for a speedy recovery. But somebody that was underachieving, definitely, and again, I don't want to put all the blame on her, but someone that definitely underachieved and really didn't succeed in WWE was Ruby Riott. And now she's Ruby Soho, and now she's going to find herself in the women's division in AEW. Reports, Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp said that she is bound to AEW. She is going to appear there very soon, perhaps maybe a Rampage, be one of those surprises that you like to have when you start a new show. It's going to add depth to the division, and hopefully she can break out, because I just think, again, she got lost in the shuffle, and it's just sad. And it goes back to your point of developing stars, because she is somebody that, if given the chance, could have been. See, you don't have to have the top four. It doesn't have to always be Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha, and Becky Lynch, because fine, they're the old reliables, but you got to mix it up, man. You can't have just the same rotation.
You have to be able to establish talent underneath them to keep it fresh.
And they can lose. Nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
They're not going to be devalued if they lose. So here's somebody like Ruby Riott, who they gave her a Riott Squad, and right?
Yeah.
And hopefully she just finds success in AEW. And again, the reports are that she has signed with AEW, and good for her.
For a women's division that was completely undervalued and was like underperforming, and now you have the ability of building that foundation for a roster that desperately needs it in the women's division.
Yeah, I mean, definitely someone that we will have our eye on in AEW. Again, they've all turned out looking like stars in AEW, making their debut. So AEW has done the right thing as far as pushing their newbies that are coming in. Another thing that I've got an issue with WWE, man, is, and they really need to put, I don't know what they need to do, but they need to put a halt to this as soon as possible, is the way they're just not really paying attention when it comes to contract expiring. I mean, you had the whole Aleister Black thing where he moved up and no one filed the paperwork, and they didn't switch his 30-day to 90-day, and then they have egg on their face that he shows up there a little bit earlier than scheduled. And, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is WWE here. How do they mess up paperwork? Same thing goes now for Adam Cole. And it's very interesting because Adam Cole could possibly be in his final, I would say, few weeks with the company. Adam Cole, bye-bye, right? I mean, think about this. This is a guy that his contract expired July 6th, Great American Bash. They thought that his contract expired in January. Some people thought it was 2024. And basically cost Canyon Ceman's job. And I'm really pissed off that he got fired, because when else can we say Canyon Ceman, right? So, right, I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss being able to, get away with saying Canyon Ceman. But how does WWE let this happen? It's like very WCW-ish towards their final, months, where you would see someone do that. How do you just mess up the paperwork? Here's a guy that, whatever your opinion is of him, and I know there's a lot of opinions on Adam Cole, but he's somebody that is a good worker, and he's somebody that could show up in AEW once he finishes up his rivalry with Kyle O'Reilly at Takeover. So he plays nice, signs an extension, and the only caveat being that is, once his contract is up after Takeover, he can show up the next few nights on Rampage, on Dynamite. Don't you think it's something that it's really, really just mind-boggling that WWE can't, in-house keeping? It's just ridiculous.
Jeff, come on, let's be honest here. I mean, everything we've done for the last 2 weeks, you keep asking the same question. I'm not attacking you. I'm not getting angry with you. I'm just saying, why is it so surprising? Why are you so surprised at these actions?
Because this is very non-WWE like. But it really is. Contracts is something that,
listen,
look,
Jeff,
a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a few years ago, they were telling people, hey, listen, your contract's coming up. We're going to pay you double just so you don't go to AEW Dynamite. So these are people that knew when contracts were up, signing people double for what they were being paid, and knew when these contracts were coming up. And now you're telling me that they couldn't know that Aleister Black's contract is expiring 30 days and not 90 days. And now Adam Cole, you're like, wait a minute, when was his contract over? January 2024? Like, what is going on?
You know what's going on right now? They're cleaning house. That's what's going on right now. They are what any professional sports team does. They're looking at the budget now, and they don't want to pay a luxury tax. You know what? They got to clear some salary. And that's where they are now, compared to what you just said before, when they're signing the Revival and they want to sign all these guys to sign a contract for 2 more years and give you ample money and throw money around. They're at the point right now, WWE is probably saying, you know what? We don't need to do this. And, it works twofold. It makes WWE look incompetent to some, but it also makes them look like, hey, we don't really need you. As big of his name as you are, in the Bray Wyatts or the Adam Coles or the Malakai, Aleister Blacks, and all of the Braun Strowmans, yeah, we put money in you. We spent a lot of money on you, but we're going to cut our losses now. We're going to move on. We've tried the experiment, we move on. So it's like, it's that wheel, that spoke on the wheel, as CM Punk would say, and it just keeps going. There's nobody bigger than the business, right? As Hulk Hogan left, somebody took its place. Stone Cold Steve Austin left, The Rock left, John Cena came in. After that, Mr. Missionary Position John Cena, and then he had Roman Reigns jump in. It took him a long time to figure it out, but he finally figured it out, and now he's there too. It just keeps going, no matter what happens.
Circle of life.
It's the circle of life. It's a circle of this business. It's a vicious business. And, AEW is enjoying the scraps of it, too. But when it comes to Adam Cole, Adam Push-Ups, baby Cole, as I call him, because he needs to do some push-ups, right? And do some bicep curls. But you know what? He is an exceptional talent. But here's the thing. If he was that valuable to WWE, they would know when his contract was up. They've shown by their inaction that they don't value Adam Cole.
So it's basically like,
Yeah, that's what it basically is. What he's done at NXT is the developmental brand. It means nothing to Vince McMahon. It means nothing to the people who run Raw and SmackDown. And this is the reason, too, why he hasn't been called up, because when they look at him, and there's no doubt in my mind this, and I'll fight anybody on it, when they look at him and compare him to everybody else on the main roster, it just visually doesn't look good. It doesn't look appealing. And I'm not saying this is similar to a Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan is somewhat more filled in the body than an Adam Cole. And again, I hate that I'm addressing the fact that his height and size is a factor, but unfortunately, in the reality, in this day and age, Jeff, it is a huge factor. Not just on WWE programming, but anywhere you go. And AEW might be different, but in the WWE world, it makes a big deal.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I apologize if I don't get it right and if I don't mention it, but just know that I have you in mind here. I think Road Dogg said in an interview that if Adam Cole was like 6'4" or something like that, he'd be the WWE champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not doubt that. Because he's that talented.
He's a good-looking guy
to do it. No, he's got the talent.
He's got the look, yeah.
He's got the talent, and a lot of him compares to one of his idols, Shawn Michaels. You know, he wants to be the Shawn Michaels, but there's one difference. Shawn Michaels, for whatever reason, I still can't pinpoint to this day, had an ability to draw the audience. And not that Adam Cole doesn't have that ability, because he has that ability to draw the audience to hate him, right? To despise him, to want to see him get his ass kicked, and you're willing to pay money to see it. But the difference is the people that loved Shawn Michaels were rooting for him and were behind him. Similar to Daniel Bryan. Unfortunately, Adam hasn't had that same type of following, hasn't had that same type of backup from the audience. And that's the reason why. It's not right. It's not fair by any stretch of the imagination, but it is the reality in the WWE world, and that's why it's going to happen. If he were to somehow go to AEW, it wouldn't bother the WWE because they don't find value in him. So it'd be like, okay, you're just taking scraps of people we don't want. If it was, for example, Roman Reigns was unhappy and he's in the peak performance and he decided, you know what, I'm going to jump ship now and go to AEW, that would be a big blow to WWE. It wouldn't destroy them, but it'd be a big blow. All these other people, doesn't really matter to them.
And I'm going to play a little bit booking too here on AEW's part. And they have a story with Adam Cole because they can have like the Young Bucks go back and trace back to the ghost of Adam Cole, right? Which would be hilarious. And if you're a Being the Elite fan, you know, when it used to be a good show on YouTube, that was hilarious.
Used to be.
And I say used to be.
I know.
Said that.
You're right. No, I just emphasized it because it used to be.
How good it would be to bring back that ghost of Adam Cole. But as far as booking him, if you told me that he was going to go there 6 months ago, I've been like, great. Him and Omega, that would be tremendous. Him for the TNT Championship, that'd be great. But with Daniel Bryan coming, CM Punk, all these guys that they're trying to push, it would be wrong time for me to believe that Adam Cole would go to AEW. That's why it kind of doesn't make sense that there's rumors that he's turning down deals and WWE just has not offered him a contract yet, a one to his liking, right? Yeah. So here's my, I guess, theory on Adam Cole. Take the factor that Britt Baker is there and they would be together because they are boyfriend and girlfriend, and he does have friends there, so that'd be one reason for him to go. But what if this was a work? What if this was just to generate more talk to this matchup between him and Kyle O'Reilly, supposedly at TakeOver, if it is a loser leaves NXT? Because people will be, well, and he can't possibly win this match because he hasn't re-signed. You know, this would add more talk, more buzz. And you know Adam Cole is a wrestling junkie. You know Triple H and Shawn would love this, for there to be talk about this match. You know, at the NXT TakeOver press conference, Triple H is going to love being asked, is Adam Cole's last match? And you know he's going to say, well, you know, we'll see. You know, they have a chance here to work the fans. And I really believe that with the whole up, down, down scenario, that he's part of that.
Yeah.
The fact that Shawn Michaels is his idol, right? Triple H, they're buds, and the feeling is mutual. Right? There's a good friendship there. I really kind of believe that this is going to be a work, and at the end of the day, Adam Cole resigns, because I just think the timing is wrong for him to go to AEW right now. Had it been 6 months ago, yeah, I definitely could see him going there and being a major player, but this is the part where now Adam Cole is going to be, and again, I'm not attacking him, it's going to be a small fish going into a pond that is actually it's filling up and becoming a big pond. So I think that it's work, and I think he'll be back there. Whether he'll be on SmackDown or Raw, I don't know, because he should be up there right now if he was going to make the jump, right? But I think this is a work. I really do.
Right. No, I get it, and a lot of it has the feelings of it being a work. This is why I don't think it's a work, though, just because how many times, how can I say this? There are certain individuals that are content with where they are. They don't aspire to anything more, and they're just willing to just get the paycheck and go on their way.
Yeah.
But then there are others, individuals, that are not satisfied with that. And to me, Adam Cole is one of those people. And when you look at his track record at the developmental brand, which is NXT, he's done everything he could possibly do in NXT. So if he were to sign a contract, it would have to mean he would have to go to Raw or SmackDown to do something different, to go for a different title, to fight different competitors. And I feel personally that I don't think that they have the confidence that he will be marketable, he will be a draw, or he will be believable that he can compete on SmackDown and Raw. So when you look at AEW, to your point, his friends there, but now it's a small fish in a large pond that's filling up fast. And it is filling up fast, which we talked about Bray Wyatt, him going there. Doesn't make sense for him now because it's filling up. It's getting congested. It's a great problem to have if you're AEW. But right now, at the same time, if you're a talent, you're like, well, if I'm going to go there for less money or more money, whatever the case might be in terms of money, I'm sure they'll make good money anywhere they go. Is it worth my time? Can I do what I want to do over there? Can I be creative? Am I going to have that opportunity to shine, or am I just collecting a paycheck? So that's something that I don't think it's a work, because at the same, I don't think that WWE has the confidence that he can be on Raw or SmackDown. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they have the confidence in him.
We're going to find out in a couple of weeks, because there is no 90-day compete. You should hear some word of Adam Cole either re-signing or not re-signing with the company. And it'll be very interesting heading into NXT TakeOver.
Jeff, if he re-signs real quick, where do you see him going in WWE?
NXT. I think he's going to just
doing
he pushes
what,
pushes the narrative to, in his mind, he doesn't believe, or I guess he's selling to a lot of people. He did an interview with Arash Markazi or something, and he talks about always saying that NXT is his own brand, right? Even though WWE has made it clear it's developmental, he believes that he's the face of that brand. But if you talk about it, like, NXT lost the war while Adam Cole was the face of it. And I just think WWE, you're right. They might not think it's a big deal.
Has he exhausted his time in NXT? Meaning, is there any more direction for him to go?
Listen, my fear of him being put on Raw or SmackDown is that he is going to disappear immediately, because you could probably believe him and Seth Rollins. You could believe him maybe with Edge a little bit. Well, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, those kind of guys, there's no way. There's just no way that he is going to be able, the aesthetic of that, putting big guys.
Is he a lifer?
Together.
Is he a lifer like Tommaso Ciampa in NXT?
Oh, yeah.
Like a Johnny Gargano in NXT.
Yeah, I really do. That's his option. Or he wants to go to AEW. And again, though, but the problem is, I would say go to AEW, be with your girlfriend, because he's there backstage a lot, and he knows his friends. But
he knows the workings of that place too.
That place is filling up, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You got CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Andrade, Malakai Black. Where does he fit on that on that priority? Where is Adam Cole going to fit?
Well, you know what the best thing about this, Jeff? We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out too. And such great topics here that we're discussing. There's so much stuff that always goes on. Just real quick about AEW. Again, it delivered to me. There's some matches that I just couldn't stand through. Christian Cage. But there's...
You have to whisper. We all know.
Listen, Jericho is on a collision course with MJF. He takes on Wardlow next week, with MJF being kind of some kind of enforcer.
Special referee.
And you got Christian Cage now, who becomes the number 1 contender. You got to be freaking kidding me. Now, I don't understand. Like, Hangman Page, they took him out of that spot. We didn't talk about it last week, but it's very important, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Hangman Page, because he's got to now be put down a pedestal because you got guys like Punk and Daniel Bryan, Brian Danielson coming into the company." But for me, I'm going to All Out, which is one of the announcements, we're going to confirm down the road. I'm going to go to All Out. Now, do I want to see Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega, or do I want to see Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage? You got to be kidding me, AEW, because here's the thing. You are putting Christian Cage on this pedestal where he's a mid-carder, man. He was on the chopping block with WWE. He came back with his concussion. Great for him. But you're bringing in him. This is like TNA bringing back Christian Cage and making him this big star.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying.
Dude is a tag team champion. He's a Hall of Famer as a tag team champion. Good to very good mid-carder. But I'm like Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage. It's not gonna make me. Let's just say this. If I see Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega, all I'll be thinking is, when's CM Punk coming out? Because at least with Hangman Page, I'm going to root for him to beat Kenny Omega. I'm going to think that it's believable that Kenny Omega is going to lose that title to Hangman Page, that tonight is going to be the night. With Christian Cage, I don't. You got to be kidding me, AEW. You can't give me Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega at all out. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't make sense why you pulled Hangman Page out of it. It really doesn't. It makes no sense to me.
Can we actually say this is something AEW is doing incorrectly?
Yeah.
Have they done something wrong here?
Yeah.
Listen, I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to give Christian Cage the respect, the admiration of a very, very Hall of Fame worth career, right?
Yeah.
But in the level where he is, tag team specialist, mid-carder, right?
It's good to very good, but not
good to
great.
very good. Is he at the level of a Stone Cold Steve Austin? Is he at the level of The Rock? Is he at the level of what Edge is or was? Is he at the level of a Roman Reigns? Is he at the level of a Kenny Omega right now? Unfortunately, the answer is no. So you put him in the situation, kind of rewarding him. At the same time, you're pushing Adam Hangman Page aside, which I'm sorry, but if AEW is about to listen to the audience, that audience wants Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. They want it. And, just real quick as a side note, how is the crowd so against Kenny Omega when it was not too long ago that was Adam Hangman Page was about to turn on Kenny?
Well,
it's funny how people forget things,
being,
right?
Lining himself with Don Callis and being,
but it's funny how fickle the fans get sometimes. You forget history here.
Yeah.
Adam was the one getting drunk. He's the one costing elite matches. He was going to turn on his tag team partner, Kenny.
Yeah,
Kenny's in the right here. But as for Christian, you're right. He's a mid-level Carter, great. But again, I hate the fact, unless it's organic, I just don't like the fact that people take people in certain positions and try to give them the idea or give you the appeal that there's something more than they're not. Yeah. Perfect example, MJF, real quick. The mere fact that Chris Jericho has to go through all this torture of 5 stages to face MJF, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But it draws appeal because, we see more of Chris Jericho. Yeah. Who knows? This might be a swan song. Who knows how much more he's got left in the tank to do this?
Well, he's doing commentary now. He's going to be one of the
smooth transition
4 guys on commentary.
Yeah.
When did 4 guys in a booth become a thing now?
Because I'm waiting for the 5-guy commentary.
Remember we were talking about 2-man booths and how you had Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross, right? You had Bobby Heenan, Gorilla,
now
Jesse
it's
the Body
3.
Vince. Then you went to 3. And you were like, all right, fine, whatever, it is what it is. And now AEW has a 4-man booth. It was Jim Ross, Excalibur, Tony Schiavone. Then you get like a Taz there, and it just grew, right? And now you get a 4-man booth now with Taz, Jericho, Mark Henry, and Excalibur.
Good luck.
That is crazy trying to get a word in edgewise.
If I can get through that show, understanding what anybody says, it'll be a good show.
So you have that to look forward to. Rampage next week. Maybe we'll do a live. Maybe we'll do a reaction to that. We'll let you know. Just stay tuned to all our social media at High Spot Podcast, Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/High Spot Podcast. Subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Please subscribe. We're gonna give you a lot of content down the road. So here's my thing too, because I want to do this going viral stuff. I've been working very hard at it, and I want to get this in. But the Cody Rhodes Malakai Black main event delivered, and it was surprising to me because I didn't hear anywhere that Cody Rhodes was thinking of retiring or this was an angle that he was going to go with. He is stepping aside to do some other side projects, and it's a good kind of angle to come back from because in the middle of the ring, he was kind of said a farewell speech, took off the boot. I'm going to say only took off one boot, didn't put all of them in there in the middle of the ring, didn't get to leave. So Malakai Black didn't let him actually retire. So that's what I think they're going to go forward and say. But Cody Rhodes is going to step aside, going to let more people eat. He's been there for a long time, and now he's going to step aside. He kind of confirmed the problems with the EVPs, that there was a little bit of maybe disagreement. But Malakai Black just goes to show you, Trendsetter, it's not hard to make a star. And when I tell you that I could book shit, I tell you I could book shit because Cody does nothing by losing to Malakai Black in that way. Cody's lost a million times that way. He put over Brody Lee that way. He's doing the same thing. And at the end of the day, Cody is a man of the people. The people love him. He could lose 20 in a row. It's not going to damage one thing about Cody. And what he did on AEW Dynamite is make Malakai Black a star more than anything WWE could have done with him when he was on the main roster.
Yeah, without a question. You can't said it best. The best thing about Cody, though, he does take a lot of things that are.
Oh, and he sells like hell, man.
Gimmicks.
How good does he sell?
He sells amazingly, and he puts a lot of truth behind it, too. His body's beat up. There's obviously tension between the other VPs. And talking about, he said it before, and he said it in several interviews, too, that he doesn't really see himself wrestling at the age of 40. He's getting closer. He's not 40 yet, obviously. I think he's 36. Will be 37 soon. And it's like, I understand it, but it gives the hints that he does a lot of what he does. A lot of the work that he does is based on a lot of reality. What he did for Brody, what he did for Malakai Black, just showcased the fact that that's the way it should be. Cody's had ample time to put his face on the brand of AEW. Now it's time for him to step away and give the other people, like I say, some of the food. Let them eat because they're hungry. And they want to show that they can carry this company as well, or they want to have the opportunity that they can do it.
And a lot of people be coming into this pond really quick, man.
Yeah, that's true. And as for Malakai Black, it just showcased to him that you said it's easy to make a star. It's easy to make a star when you have talent behind it. And Malakai Black has a tremendous amount of talent. Utilized the way he
utilized his kickboxing and Muay Thai into this and sold it.
You did,
and Cody sold it. So again, that's also great. And then I gotta say, listen, Camille, Roll Tide, Camille is a star. But here's the one thing about NWA Empower that I don't get, and this is why Tony Khan I think is like the master of ribbon here. So Mickie James is having this show, NWA Empower. It's all women's show. I wish somebody would have thought of that before. So we're gonna have a main event for the NWA Championship. But here's another version of you got to be kidding me. So it was Bunny, right? What's her
the bunny
against Layla Hirsch. No, listen, Layla Hirsch is tremendous. She's great. But if this is your matchup for the NWA Women's Championship, you got to be kidding me. I mean,
no, guys, you're not looking at.
No, we didn't enlarge anything. But I know Camille had heels on, but this is ridiculous. Like
they weren't that high.
But you got to be kidding me. Like
objects and mirrors look bigger than they appear.
Like what? Are you seriously? Like that's who Tony Khan agreed to give Billy Corgan. That's like when Dixie Carter was like, WWE said we could bring a star in. And you asked for Christian Cage back. No offense to Layla Hirsch. But the thing is, she's got to build a name. I know she's building a name on the indies, but she hasn't even made a name for herself in AEW. And now she's getting the title shot at NWA Power. Did you see the disparity in size? You know what I do want to see, though?
No, I didn't.
You know what I do want to see, though? I want to see Camille one day get in the ring against Jade Cargill. Because that would be an amazing match. Now, Camille still has work to do on the mic, but it would still be an amazing freaking match because Camille is money and so is Jade Cargill. But, I mean, you got to be kidding me. Like, what the F, man? Like,
it's a classic David versus Goliath story. You want to root for it. Hey, give it a shot. At
David
the same
was
time,
bigger. And talking about a short guy, okay? All right?
Yeah.
David was bigger.
Hey, I'm willing to give it a shot here because it's something that, yes, it's a stereotypical thing. But ultimately, hey, let's give it a shot. Because right now what they currently been doing hasn't been working. So let's give it something different.
Whether this makes the chopping block or not, we have no bells and whistles. We don't. I might do a trumpet sound when we do this. But it's time for HSP to go viral. HSP going viral. You like that, Trendsetter?
Oh,
I paid for that.
Amazing.
I paid for that.
Hey,
I have a question for you. Have you ever had a prized possession so good that, like, maybe like it's like a hat or baseball mitt or something that you just hold near and dear to your heart that you just love so much that you couldn't bear to part with it?
can't recall I had. Last time I was a kid where, you had like your teddy bear or something like that you just couldn't do away with.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
Well, Big E obviously showed that he has a fixation for his Money in the Bank briefcase, and this was him at a live event. And basically, hopefully, he used protection here. But Big E is very fond of his Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, that right there is. I mean, he is just. And
Whoa,
the man is just.
That's PG.
Yeah, that is live events, man. You can you can placate to the not as bad as what Max Caster did. So but we love you, Max. We love you, Max. But yeah, man, like you ever want to make love to a inanimate object?
Well, if not, he definitely was going for that, and who knows? Maybe the briefcase will have a little briefcase.
Come to WWE live events where anything can happen, like Big E, dry humping his briefcase.
Dude, that's hilarious, man.
All right, Trendsetter. So, all right, this is a real story, but I just want to ask your opinion if this is real or not. So, there's a guy named 22-year-old Maxwell Barry, and he's in the news because he actually acted up on Frontier Airlines flight. He was drunk, belligerent. He actually groped 2 flight attendants, female, and attacked another male attendant. The flight attendants actually taped him up to his seat with duct tape. They even actually shut his mouth too. And if he's being belligerent and he's getting out of his seat and he's threatening the safety of the passengers, I honestly would have to agree with what the flight attendants did, man. They're trying to protect the people on board. And this man, was taken away. He's going to be charged. And how could you not disagree with the tactics of what the flight attendants did? But there is one flight attendant on this plane. You can see some footage here. But then one of the flight attendants spoke on to one of the reporters, and this is what happened.
Of a belligerent passenger causing sheer chaos in the air. And it got so bad that flight attendants had to duct tape the man to his seat.
Oh my God.
Ever since masks were required on airplanes, flight attendants say that their work has become downright dangerous.
Now understand something. I'm a flight attendant. That means I attend the flights. Sometimes our job has us attending to crazy people. If you push us too far, you're going to have to attend this ass whooping. You see, because on this particular flight, I'm sitting in the jump seat and I'm just looking at him like the damn fool. He's spitting and cussing and going crazy. I say, that's enough. I got up and I walked over there. And by the way, this man smelled like a pack of Marlboro cigarettes, 4 shots of Everclear alcohol, and regret. So I know something's about to go down. At this point, he touching all over my co-worker's breast. And where he f***ed up at is when he touched my titties, because I don't play that. So what I did is I took out the duct tape. I said, he got scared, started stuttering, say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I said, yeah, we about to mummify your ass now, boy. So we wrapped him up. Better than any Christmas present you ever see. He won't be coming on no more Frontier flights at all.
Oh my God. That's freaking hilarious.
All right, Trendsetter, real or fake?
Oh man, I think it's fake. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The way. I mean, I've heard people before speak really well like that.
Man.
That looks so scripted from that speech. We're gonna mummify your ass.
I believed it. I fell for it the first time.
Yeah, you're the best Christmas present you've ever seen. It's just it's hilarious. But again, there are individuals that are that chaotic. But I can't ever recall them being duct taped to the seat, their mouth being taped, and especially the comment he made too that he was touching the flight attendant's breast, then he touched his, and then he doesn't go there. I'm like, okay, well now we're just embellishing for show.
My titties. Oh,
does it well though. Love the guy's beard.
Yo,
awesome beard.
Check him out on Instagram, _real_sparks, man. Another guy I love to get on the show. Hilarious, man. But again, though, honestly, can we be civilized on freaking planes like that? Now that's a thing now. That's the thing now, is to act up on planes. A couple days ago, I saw people act up at a baseball game, which is nothing new.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's getting ridiculous now. I mean, civilization. What the fuck, guys? I mean, really, like, holy smokes, where are we going as just human beings? For God's sakes, like
going down, downward spiral,
from
man.
Philly to Miami, this guy was going. Was he a Philly guy? That would explain a lot. But come on, really? I mean.
Come on, man.
How'd you like it, man? Going
Nah,
viral?
great.
Did I make you smile? Did I make you laugh? Did you tear? Did you cry?
Yeah, well, the first one with Big E made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Second one, I felt it was an exotic convention. Second one was hilarious, and the third one was even funnier too in terms of the flight attendants. It's amazing what you'll see. You know, I was never a component of. I never understood YouTube, never understood TikTok. It's addicting. You can go in there and be entertained with all these
Yeah,
little,
really
trends
is.
and things that are popular. Yeah, I'm on YouTube sometimes. I'm seeing like pranks that are made for individuals, and just how many views they get, and how much of it's I call myself the trendsetter, but it is a trend out there, and it's something really popular. And if you ignore it, then you're ignoring just the reality of the situation of
Yeah.
the world we live in. You talk about we have to be civil, right? But everything is electronic in this world, and everything is basically either you're doing it for fun or you're doing it to get hits. And my goodness, it's pretty entertaining and disturbing at times too. But for the most part, we try to keep it entertaining here. So
Definitely Trendsetter. Another great episode in the books, man. Time just flies so
does,
much,
man.
man. It really does. And again, man, like, AEW continues to be good. Rampage is coming up next week, so a second show now. You basically have wrestling now.
Pretty excited how they're going
Yeah, a
to
lot of wrestling, dude.
organize that. Yeah.
After SmackDown, you can flip right over and catch AEW Rampage. I'm definitely going to be very curious to see how they do it. But again, though, AEW is just stepping it up, and I would expect nothing more than just an action-packed 2 hours show, and I will definitely be watching that. And then you've got, of course, Raw, NXT, Impact, all this stuff. Trendsetter. Wow, I'm running out of breath here, but
Hey, you're running out of breath. I'm running out of energy. And if we have energy
you got
left,
to go.
we'll be back next week, guys, because he has Jeff Martin. I'm the trendsetter, Bryan Burga. We are the Jersey Rag Crew. You've been listening to another episode of the HSP podcast, delivering it once again because we do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the crew.
Oh, Bazanji's got a new album, man. Go check that out as well. Go Bazanji, go.
Me and my boys break bread, yeah, we toasted.